Hello, this is April post board meeting update. Want to take a few minutes to highlight some of the happenings across the district and things that are going on here in the Reach Spring School District. We had our board reorganization last night. We sworn in Amanda Rogers, Ryan Hamilton, and Adam Blevins. We appreciate their willingness to continue on the board and continue serving at a high level. We are grateful for all of our board members. We also reorganized the board, and all officers remain the same, with Barry Phillips as our board president and Lisa Boyd as our vice president. So all of our other positions within the board structure have remained the same, and the board determined that and voted on that last night. Just going through some of the highlights, we went through our strategic plan belief that we believe students need to be challenged so they are better prepared for continued learning in life. And our board normals will not involve ourselves in situations that may come to a board vote. So board members try to keep that line separate so that they can look at things just objectively as they're making decisions. Just a few things to keep on your radar, staff. On May 4th, we will be having our staff appreciation lunch that will be provided by the district, and those lunch schedules were created and shared with your building administrator, so they will have that shared out with you on that May 4th PD day. Our Excellence Award Banquet is on May 9th, so we're looking forward to that event at the Chateau at 5 p.m. and the high school graduation on May 14th at 7 p.m. And of course, our last day of school on May 21st. Things are moving pretty fast. We got a lot going on. I updated the board a little bit on current state of budget as we look at our legislative platform at Jefferson City and what's happening within the House and the Senate and the budget appropriation committees as they're working on the budget to propose to the governor. Every week it seems like at least we're making some progress in regards to personal property tax and some of those things that we are really concerned of. A couple positives that happened this last week with the budget appropriations is that transportation was increased by 15.2 million. We still anticipate a very large shortfall, but that's something to be at least considered. We talked about, I think just as we move forward, we can talk about more about how that budget will impact us, at the state and federal level. We're keeping our eyes on the local revenue and things that are happening here. We talked briefly about salaries and kind of our target, where we'd like to do something comparable to what we did last year with salaries. So we're trying to evaluate that. That was like a 4.9% increase for all staff across the board, from teachers, certified administrators, everybody, top down, get that same percentage of increase. And so we talked about that. We are still waiting just to see how this legislative piece works through and what budget impact all these shortfalls are going to have on us as a district before we can make the final decisions on salaries, which hopefully will be done in May. If not, we'll do it in early June. And so keep your eyes on that. One of the things that we're knowing that's still moving through the legislative process is the literacy bill. We anticipate some form of a literacy bill being approved. This could pose some financial burdens on us. We have some concerns about the literacy bill and some requirements, specifically requiring mandatory retention of students at third grade, regardless of how parents might feel about that. They're trying to pass a law saying the parents have no say in when a kid can be retained or should be retained at third grade. So there's some things there that we'll look at. But if you want to stay in tune with those, what's happening at the state level, you can certainly do a Google search or ChatGPT that, and you'll get a lot of information on what the current status is. I want to give a shout out to our Reach Spring Foundation, that entire board group, and Becky Sellers, who I'll shout out because she's the one I communicate with the most and has really worked hard on that. We had a Night in the Arts event. It was held at Yakov Theater. It was a collaboration with the Hollister and Branson Foundations, and they worked to raise money for all the schools in Stone and Taney County. And we had an evening of fine arts, an auction, and student pieces that were auctioned off. It was an awesome event. They raised $200-something thousand for Stone and Taney County schools, and part of that which comes to our school district. We haven't determined exactly where it's going to go. I think it's going to be somewhere around $15,000 to $17,000 that we'll get total, but we know it's going to go to the fine arts department. So we'd like to put that money in that area. So we're really excited. We had the autonomy to put that money where we wanted to, and that's where we'd like it to be. So that was great. We had our long discussion and conversation item, which was strategy 3, or student opportunities. As you know, we are exploring opportunities for students. We've surveyed patrons and students and stakeholders and got feedback. The board ultimately decided to go with our recommendation and approve archery as our newest addition to extracurricular activities for our middle school and high school students. I just got an email from Mr. Lance Gosh, our activities director, asking if he can go ahead and post an archery position. So they approved both a head archery coach and an assistant archery coach stipend to support the development of that program, which we think will be a phenomenal program for many of our students who may not be participating in current activities. I think it'll be a huge add. So that came in the survey data. We're excited that the strategic plan is driving us forward in advancing opportunities for kids. We had a lengthy conversation about soccer. That was the other piece that was a really big conversation point during our meeting. The data clearly indicates soccer as a high level interest sport. We feel like there's no recommendation. I'll say, first of all, for this evening, we talked about some possible recommendations that could come as scenarios, one of which would be adding youth sports, soccer to our youth sports program. What we know is we already have a pretty large group of kids. I've heard it's around 80 to 90 kids here in Reed Spring that are playing soccer on a youth sports program through the Branson Parks and Rec. We feel like adding that makes complete sense. It could possibly be our largest youth activities program that we have. And so we will have some recommendations for the board. I know there's a lot of conversations about high school soccer, what that might look like down the road, if that's a possibility. I would say yes, it's a possibility, but there's a lot of things that need to be explored. First, we need to make sure that there's a high level of interest, that we have numbers to sustain a program like that over time. And so that's partly what the youth sports program will help us know. It'll give us a pulse on how many kids are playing. We'll get a pulse on how many kids are playing middle school soccer, which isn't ever isn't part of a high school or middle school program. It's usually done through club, so we can kind of get a pulse on how many kids are playing club soccer, and that can lead us to making some decisions ultimately about what happens at the high school level down the road. But we don't anticipate that happening next year. Next year, I do see that us adding youth sports as a possible, as a new additional program. If the board approves, that would be the recommendation as of our discussion last night. So exciting, two new opportunities. There's other things that can be explored and looked at, but those are the two main things that we focused in on. The career ladder plan was approved. We plan on career ladder, although the state budget has been cut in career ladder because of funding shortfalls. They're telling us that we'll still have enough money to support that program. It's going to be close, but we'll still have enough money. So we are moving forward with that. Last but not least, we want to just express our appreciation to Gordon Weathers. Gordon Weathers has been serving on the board for a little bit of time, and he has resigned from his role as a board member due to his responsibilities as commissioner of Stone County, presiding commissioner of Stone County. So he has felt like it's probably be best served if he focuses energy all in that direction. And so he has stepped down. We accepted his recommendation, and we'll be putting out information shortly about what that vacancy process will look like, and ultimately the board can determine who and how they want to fill. They have two options. They can continue functioning until the April board election with a 6 board member panel, or they can nominate and appoint someone. And so they're wanting to go that route of appointing someone. So more information to come on that. That was the conclusion of our board meeting. A great evening. We appreciate all that's happening right now. We're in the middle of state testing. Teachers, keep on doing what you're doing, keeping our kids focused. Students, do your very best, and parents, please encourage your kids to have just great attitudes as they work to finishing the rest of the school year, so we can just end on a great note and continue towards our academic excellence. We appreciate everybody, and have a great day.